Hi, I'm Tony Inman, the Change Catalyst. I'd just like to talk to you today about one of the main things that I find when I'm talking to a lot of my business clients that a lot of small business owners struggle with, and that is just dealing with having too much to do in the day, having that sense of overwhelm. You've got to wear so many different hats. There's always so much to do. There's an old saying that nobody ever dies with an empty in tray. And that's certainly true if you're running your own small business. There will always be more to do than you can possibly ever get done in a day. And I find that's one of the things that people seem to struggle with quite a lot, is how to prioritize, how to set goals in the first place, but how to prioritize which goals you should be working on. And it's perhaps that difference between leadership and management. There's an old definition that management is doing things right, whereas leadership is about doing the right thing. And you might think, well, okay, I'm just a small business. If you've got a one-man band, for instance, or a one-person band, to be politically correct these days, do you actually have to be a leader? Well, yes, you do have to lead yourself first. And as you grow your business, and if you do take on some extra staff, then you'll have other people who are looking to you for that leadership. And by that I mean you're the one who is deciding which game you're playing and how that game is going to be played. So you're the one who's setting the targets. You're the one who is stretching to achieve new things, to grow the business, and you're dictating how it's going to be done. And the rest of the team will be looking for you to guide the way, to show them what you want done, how you want it done, and more importantly, why you want it done. So when you get that sense of overwhelm, how do you break that down? So one of the ways you can look at tackling the whole topic of what I like to call overwhelm, that sense of having way too much to do and nowhere near enough time to do it in, is to use some strategies to actually break down the work into smaller chunks. We call it chunking down. So figuring out what your objectives are first. Perhaps a good way of looking at it is that you do a business plan that might be for the foreseeable future. Used to be that you do a business plan for 5 years. These days, with the speed of change, probably most people are planning ahead maybe 3 years, depending on the size of the organization. Obviously, the bigger companies have to plan a lot further ahead. There's a lot more involved. But for a small business, part of the greatness of small business is that you can be flexible, but you still need to have a blueprint that you're working towards, what you're trying to achieve. So if you start out with your sort of 3-year goals and then break it down to what would you like to achieve over the next 12 months? Then you take it back further. What would you like to achieve this quarter, this month, this week? And ultimately right back to, in order to get those objectives achieved, for this month, what do you need to be doing this week? Which tasks do you need to complete, and in what order of priority? So one of the things that you can do to help chunk things down, to make things more manageable, well, start off with making a list. Do you have a list of the objectives that you want to achieve in the next month? Do you have a list of the things that you want to achieve this week? I read something recently that some of the most successful people, the people that we look up to in society, the leaders, the decision makers, they tend to have a habit of writing their list of tasks or list of things they need to get done before the day is finished. Like some of them do it last thing before they go to bed, some of it will do it before they leave the office. Others of you who maybe are more of a morning person may prefer to do it first thing in the morning. But the thing is to make a list of all the things that you intend to achieve that day and then prioritizing them in order. So when you're a small business owner, sure, those plans can so easily go astray. You can have the best laid plans of what you want to achieve, and then the phone rings and emails come in and customers call about things, and suddenly your best laid plans go right out the window. But at least if you have a framework, you have a better chance of getting things done. and looking at how you're going to assess those priorities, how you're going to, well, to help you to prioritize things. You can use a number of different systems. There's a lot of different softwares that you can use these days, but for example, Todoist is one. Trello is one that I like to use. It enables you to make a list of your projects and break those down into smaller tasks. Perhaps have a checklist, you know, in order to achieve the objective. There might be 10 things that you have to get done first for that whole thing to come together. So something like Trello enables you to do that. But something I use as well that can't be too bad because Richard Branson still uses it, is to have a notebook with me, and I note down the things that I think of and the lists of things that I need to get done. I'm relentlessly making lists and ticking my way through them and working through those lists to ensure that I'm on track. And it does work, you know. If you don't make a list or you don't make a note of things, important things can easily be forgotten. So I'm just going to run through one quick idea, one quick tool that you may have seen before, but if you haven't, it's always worth my while to draw it out again. And it's a 4-grid model. So the things that are easiest to identify that you need to do are the things that are both important and urgent. It's a no-brainer. Those are the ones that have to get done. Equally, the things that are not important and not urgent, it's very obvious that they don't really need to get done right now, and may never need to get done, or they can certainly be delegated to other people. This is the other 2 grids are the ones where people seem to struggle. So the challenging one is this not urgent but important. The other one being not important but urgent. So this is one where the line between these two becomes a little bit more blurry. Okay, let's take first of all this one here, not important but urgent. Now, those are the things that come up that you just have to deal with. There might be emails, might be phone calls, you know, just various emergencies through the day. They're urgent. Somebody's got to deal with them. It might not necessarily be you that has to deal with them. Maybe you can delegate them to someone else. Difficult if you're a one-man band and you're the only person. But maybe those are the sort of things that could be outsourced to other people. But this one here, the not important but urgent, the not urgent but important. That's the things where you are working on your business rather than in your business. I mean, you still have to work in your business, but the things where you're working on your business is the things like taking that step back to make your plans, to plan ahead, to determine which things are the most important, to prioritize, to come up with new systems, to come up with new ideas, to come up with new products or services. Those are the things that ultimately are going to change your business. They're not urgent because they don't have to be done today, but they are important because if you don't set aside the time to review those things, to make time to make them happen, then guess what? Your competition will, and you will fall by the wayside. So it's critical that we are taking that step back to actually look at where is our business going, what are the things we want to achieve, and prioritizing. And that is the section of this 4-quadrant model that needs the most obvious attention because, as I said, these two are real no-brainers. The stuff that's important and urgent just has to get done today, that's it. That stuff may never have to get done. But these grey areas here, this is the bit that can make the biggest difference to you. So start identifying those. Figure out your way of classifying that, whether you use this 4-model grid. Some people will label things as A, B, C, or D in priority and make sure that you're only working on the A things first and then you go on to the B things. That's in an ideal world. Everyone will give you a different system that you can use. The important thing is to use a system that works for you, but have a system. And that's what I just wanted to impart to you today. Prioritization, that will help you to deal with overwhelm.